Greetings everyone, Mercenary Legend here. I talk a lot about Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy, but I wanted to talk about a game that I booted up and started getting into again. Airships Conquer the Skies. This is the only city building sim besides City Skylines I actually like. Am I great at it? No. Here's the thing about me. While I am good at most strategy games I play, City Sims just overwhelm me. City Skylines is just on the border of being too complex for my standards. This game, however, is definitely more complex. Conquest is this game's adventure mode, and it's pretty rough. Your income is pretty low, and you can raise it by building markets or ports if you have access to them, or slaying monsters or pirates works just as well. The real money in the early game comes in the form of trade treaties with other nations, as these are based on a percentage of both nations' incomes. Keep that in mind. Airship sets itself apart by letting you design your own ships. This is where all the mechanics really come into play. If you don't like City Sim gameplay, don't worry, there's always people online you can bully. Or maybe just get a friend and stick with that. Here's the airship editor. Pretty simple UI here. We got our modules, armor, paint, and decorations, the hotkeys at the top, and information on what our ship requires to be usable in game. Look at that, I just opened the editor and the game's already bitching at me. So there's one key thing about building an airship. Lift. If you are slacking on anything, this should not be it, because, well, duh, you need lift to have an airship. It's more than its name. A higher service ceiling can take you out of range of some weaponry and make the accuracy of anything else almost middling. It's important to understand positioning well. In battle it can turn the tide, sure, but in design it can save you literal microseconds. Yes, it is that serious. I'm going to show you my past intellect here. A bit personal, but a great example too. I don't know what I was thinking here, but putting a keel on your first ship is ballsy, let alone two. So no wonder this thing is grazing the roofs of any buildings it passes. Good thing I gave it a ram and some half decent speed. Can't believe I thought to do that back in the day. The momentum will carry the ship further. However, I must have been high as a kite because I put a small propeller in my mortar right next to the ram. Do I have to explain why that's a bad idea? If so, then. Plus, why have a mortar? It takes 7 seconds to reload. That's an exposed module. 7 seconds means it's virtually useless. It's not a rifle which you could at least make some use of. And then the use of 2 cargo bays? They're heavy as fuck! And they add maintenance. Maintenance is the tax that goes for your ship. As long as the ship is deemed worthy to sail, it's always got at least $1 of maintenance to its name. It's what will reduce your income in conquest mode too. If you're making ships just to skirmish, you can thankfully forego this for the most part. I'm not done tearing my past self down though. While the coal distribution is subpar if I'm being nice, I have to commend my water placement though. Not using a fire point is concerning. It's at least decent water spread. But I can't fathom every single time I return to this build. Why did I put an aircraft maintenance bay? But no aircraft. You know, these, of which I have 0 of. That's the most egregious thing about this build. It was my first one, sure, but I mean, come on. Am I slow? Also, a few minor points. These areas are fine hallways, but they definitely need at least 1 ladder for each, so that way travel across the ship is quicker. See these boxes here in the path? This is the goal. If at least 90% of your ship functions like this, you got a fast ship. I wouldn't do this for the whole thing because it's not going to lead to great builds most of the time, on top of there being things that you want to section off, like supply hatches, because you can board the ships in this game, and you want to have your supply hatches away from your cockpits and bridges because that's where the boarders come in from, and their target is cockpits and bridges. So the smart thing is not to place a guard post for decoration, like a ditz, but rather to place it blocking the supply hatch from the rest of the ship. Or make it the only thing it connects to entirely so the boarders are forced to fight your trained guards. And I don't know about you, but I don't see a fucking guard barracks on this glorified boat either. So who's going in there? LARPers? If anyone goes in this room, I'll fire your ass faster than Disney could buy a new IP. Here's an example of a good ship. It's got a good bit of weapons, good spread, any holes the rockets will open up will be shredded by the grape shot at the cost of being close range cannons. Plus, rockets are inaccurate, so being closer isn't required, but it'll help. The supply hatches are pretty far from the bridge and plenty of ammo. My only self-criticism is that I shouldn't use a sail for propulsion, or I should move the sail and then add a propeller or two, and there we go, a marginally better ship. I haven't gone over land ships or buildings yet, but they have their own ways. Land ships don't need lift, rather your propulsion for these just uses coal for most of its contraptions, but each propulsion type carries a different maximum weight. Buildings don't need lift or propulsion, and weight doesn't play too much of a factor here. I boot this game up just to mess with it. I don't play the Conquest that much because I'm not that good at it, but I build and test against the AI. But when I get to show my friends, it makes the time I put into them that much more worth it. This game has more stuff I haven't even mentioned, like mods. It's so easy to make mods for this game compared to something like Elden Ring. You can mod the files directly, or you can allow mods in the settings menu, and then you can use the AI fleet creator, and you can design a fleet that you can then use in Conquest mode, single player, and multiplayer. You can then publish these to Steam pretty easily. This is how you can add some spice to the game if you're feeling bored of seeing the same designs in Conquest. It could give the AI some more balance if you find that their ships are, well, too tanky. The developer is a chill guy and he's very open to mods for the game, and he's even added R&RAW to the game. Nice. And can we just sit back and listen to that music? This game can lure you in with its OST alone. I've lost track of how many times I've been high in the editor and listening to the track Stratosphere go on and on. What's interesting is City Skylines also has an in-game modding tool just like this game. I think this style of customization brings life to this style of game. It's a bit cumbersome for the average Joe, but it gives anyone with a learning mindset an entry level into the modding scene. And I think this kind of stuff has helped me read stuff in Notepad over the years of doing it. I could probably make a completely original module for this game with my knowledge. Wish I had the time to do one though. But that's my thoughts on the game. I'd love to see more people play it and give it more love. I might do a video on my favorite designs in the future, but until then, have a good one.